Hello, everyone. Welcome back to JeyB Tech Academy, and welcome to Lesson 12 of our SQL Server Mastery course. In our previous lesson, we learned how to write shorter and more professional SQL queries using the in, between, and like operators. We discovered how these operators help us filter data more efficiently and make our SQL code cleaner and easier to maintain. Now that we know how to retrieve the correct data, there's another important question we need to answer. How should that data be displayed? Imagine a query that returns hundreds or even thousands of records. The data is correct, but the rows appear in no meaningful order. Finding the information you need becomes difficult. This is where the order by clause becomes essential. The order by clause allows us to organize query results in a meaningful way. We can sort employee names alphabetically. We can display the highest salaries first. We can show the newest records before older ones, or arrange dates, prices, and many other types of data exactly the way we need. In this lesson, you'll learn how the order by clause works. We'll explore ascending order and descending order. You'll also learn how to sort data using multiple columns and how order by works together with the where clause. Finally, we'll look at common beginner mistakes and real-world examples that professional SQL developers use every day. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to present your query results in a clean, organized, and professional format. The ability to sort data correctly is one of the most important skills for writing reports, dashboards, and business applications. So let's get started and learn how to organize SQL query results like a professional using the order by clause. In the previous lesson, we learned how to retrieve exactly the data we need by using the where clause, logical operators, in, between, and like. Now imagine that your query returns hundreds of employee records. The query is correct. Every record you need is there. But the results appear in a random order. Finding a specific employee becomes difficult. Comparing salaries takes more time. Reading the report becomes confusing. Wouldn't it be better if the results were organized automatically? For example, what if employee names were displayed from A to Z? What if the highest salary appeared at the top of the report? What if the latest records always appeared first? That's exactly what the order by clause does. The order by clause organizes your query results in a meaningful order. It doesn't change the data stored in the database. It only changes the way the results are displayed. This simple feature makes reports easier to read. It helps users find information more quickly. It also makes your SQL queries look more professional. Almost every real-world application uses sorted data. Employee reports, customer lists, product catalogs, sales reports, invoices, dashboards, all of them depend on the order by clause. In this lesson, you'll learn how to sort data in ascending order, descending order, and even by multiple columns. Once you understand the order by clause, you'll be able to present your SQL query results in a clean, organized, and professional way. Let's begin by understanding what the order by clause is and why it is one of the most frequently used clauses in SQL Server. Now let's understand what the order by clause is. The order by clause is used to arrange the rows returned by a SQL query in a specific order. By default, SQL Server does not guarantee the order of the rows returned by a query. Even if the same query is executed multiple times, you should never assume that the results will always appear in the same order. If you want your data to appear in a meaningful and predictable order, you should use the order by clause. For example, you may want to display employee names in alphabetical order. You may want to show salaries from the lowest value to the highest value. Or you may want to display the newest records before the older ones. The order by clause makes all of this possible. It tells SQL Server exactly how the result set should be arranged before it is displayed. Remember one important point. The order by clause does not change the data stored in the table. It only changes the order in which the results are displayed on your screen. This means the original data inside the database remains exactly the same. Only the output of the query is organized. This is why the order by clause is used in almost every business application. Employee reports are sorted by employee name. Sales reports are often sorted by total sales. Customer lists are arranged alphabetically. Financial reports display the highest values first. Sorting data makes reports easier to read, easier to analyze, and easier to understand. As a SQL developer, presenting data in a clear and organized format is just as important as retrieving the correct data. In the next slide, we'll learn how to sort data in ascending order using the ASC keyword, and see how SQL Server arranges numbers, text, and dates from the smallest value to the largest. Now let's learn how to sort data in ascending order. Ascending order is the default sorting order in SQL Server. The keyword used for ascending order is ASC, which stands for ascending. When you use ASC, SQL Server arranges the data from the smallest value to the largest value. For text data, it sorts alphabetically from A to Z. For numbers, it sorts from the lowest value to the highest value. For dates, it sorts from the oldest date to the newest date. Let's look at a simple example. Suppose we want to display employees based on their salary, starting with the lowest salary. We can write an order by clause followed by the salary column and the ASC keyword. SQL Server first retrieves all the employee records. Then it compares the salary values. Finally, it arranges the rows from the smallest salary to the largest salary before displaying the result. One interesting fact is that the ASC keyword is optional. If you write only order by salary, SQL Server automatically assumes ascending order. In other words, these two queries produce exactly the same result. Order by salary and order by salary ASC. Both sort the data from the lowest salary to the highest salary. Even though ASC is optional, many professional developers include it explicitly. Doing so makes the query easier to read and clearly shows the intended sorting order. You'll often see ASC used in reports where users want names arranged alphabetically, products sorted by price from low to high, or records displayed from the oldest date to the newest. Whenever you need your results to appear in increasing order, the ASC keyword is the right choice. In the next slide, we'll learn how to reverse the sorting order using the DESC keyword and display the highest values first. Now let's learn how to sort data in descending order. The keyword used for descending order is DESC, which stands for descending. Unlike ascending order, descending order arranges the data from the highest value to the lowest value. For text data, SQL Server sorts the values from Z to A. For numbers, it sorts from the largest value to the smallest value. For dates, it displays the newest records first and the oldest records last. Let's understand this with an example. Suppose your manager asks you to display the employees who earn the highest salaries. Instead of sorting from the lowest salary to the highest salary, we want to see the highest salary at the top of the report. To achieve this, we use the order by clause followed by the salary column and the DESC keyword. SQL Server first retrieves all the employee records. Then it compares the salary values. Finally, it arranges the rows from the highest salary to the lowest salary before displaying the results. This type of sorting is very common in real-world applications. Managers often want to see the top-performing employees. Sales teams want to view the highest sales first. E-commerce websites display the most expensive products first. Business dashboards usually show the latest transactions at the top. The desk keyword makes all of these reports possible. One important point to remember is that SQL Server will only sort the data for the current query result. It does not change the order of the records stored in the database. The data remains exactly the same. Only the way the results are displayed changes. As a SQL developer, you should always choose the sorting order based on the business requirement. If users want the smallest values first, use ASC. If users want the largest or most recent values first, use DESC. Choosing the correct sorting order makes reports more useful and much easier to understand. In the next slide, we'll learn how to sort data using multiple columns and see how SQL Server handles records when more than one sorting condition is applied. So far, we've learned how to sort data using a single column. But in real-world applications, sorting by one column is often not enough. Sometimes we need to sort the data using 2 or more columns. This is called sorting by multiple columns. Let's understand this with an example. Suppose we want to display all employees grouped by their department. Within each department, we want the employees with the highest salary to appear first. To achieve this, we use 2 columns in the order by clause. First, we sort by the department column in ascending order. Then we sort by the salary column in descending order. Now let's see how SQL Server processes this query. First, SQL Server retrieves all the matching records. Next, it sorts all the employees by their department name. After grouping the employees by department, SQL Server looks at each department separately. Within each department, it sorts the employees by salary in descending order. As a result, all employees from the same department stay together. At the same time, the employee with the highest salary appears at the top of each department. This technique is extremely useful in business reports. For example, you might want to display products grouped by category and then sort each category by price. You might want to display students grouped by class and then sort each class by total marks. Or you may want to display customer orders grouped by city and then sort each city by the latest order date. Sorting by multiple columns helps organize large amounts of data in a meaningful and professional way. Always remember that SQL Server sorts the data from left to right in the order by clause. The first column determines the primary sorting order. The second column is used only when the values in the first column are the same. Additional columns continue the sorting whenever necessary. This allows you to create highly organized reports that are easy to read and easy to analyze. In the next slide, we'll learn how the order by clause works together with the where clause and understand the order in which SQL Server processes filtering and sorting. So far, we've learned how to filter data using the where clause. We've also learned how to sort data using the order by clause. Now let's understand how these 2 clauses work together. This is one of the most common combinations you'll use in SQL. Suppose we want to display only employees from the IT department. At the same time, we want to display those employees in descending order based on their salary. To achieve this, we use both the where clause and the order by clause in the same query. Now let's see what SQL Server does behind the scenes. The first step is filtering. SQL Server reads the where clause and selects only the rows that satisfy the specified condition. In our example, it retrieves only the employees who belong to the IT department. At this stage, employees from all other departments are ignored. After filtering is complete, SQL Server applies the order by clause. It sorts only the filtered records. Since we're sorting by salary in descending order, the employee with the highest salary appears first, followed by the next highest salary, and so on. Notice the sequence carefully. SQL Server does not sort the entire table first. It filters the required rows first. Then it sorts only those rows. This makes the query more efficient and produces exactly the result we need. This combination is used in almost every real-world application. For example, an HR manager may want to see only IT employees sorted by salary. A sales manager may want to view only completed orders sorted by the latest order date. An online shopping website may display only available products sorted by price or customer rating. Whenever you need a specific set of records presented in a meaningful order, you'll use the where clause together with the order by clause. Always remember this simple execution flow. First, SQL Server filters the data using the where clause. Then, it organizes the filtered results using the order by clause. Understanding this sequence will help you write SQL queries that are accurate, efficient, and much easier to understand. In the next slide, we'll look at some of the most common mistakes beginners make while using the order by clause and learn how to avoid them. Now let's look at some of the most common mistakes beginners make when using the order by clause. Understanding these mistakes will help you write cleaner SQL queries and avoid unexpected results. The first common mistake is forgetting to specify the correct sorting direction. Many beginners expect the highest values to appear first, but they forget to use the DESC keyword. As a result, SQL Server uses ascending order by default, and the results are completely different from what they expected. The second mistake is believing that the order by clause changes the data stored in the database. This is not true. The order by clause only changes the way the query results are displayed. The actual data inside the table remains exactly the same. Another common mistake is sorting by the wrong column. For example, instead of sorting employees by salary, a beginner might accidentally sort them by employee ID. The query executes successfully, but the output does not meet the business requirement. Always verify that you are sorting by the correct column. Another mistake is using multiple columns in the wrong order. Remember that SQL Server sorts the data using the first column first. The second column is applied only when the values in the first column are the same. Choosing the wrong column order can produce unexpected results. Some beginners also assume that SQL Server automatically sorts the data. It does not. Unless you use the order by clause, SQL Server does not guarantee the order of the returned rows. If you need your results in a specific order, always use order by explicitly. Finally, many beginners execute a query and immediately accept the result without checking whether it matches the business requirement. Professional SQL developers always review the output carefully. They make sure the data is sorted exactly as expected before using it in reports or applications. Always remember these simple best practices. Use ASC when you need the smallest values or alphabetical order. Use desk when you need the largest values or the latest records first. Choose the correct column for sorting. Verify the output after every query. And always write SQL that is easy for both computers and humans to understand. In the next slide, we'll apply everything you've learned in this lesson to real-world examples and see how the order by clause is used in professional business applications. Now let's see how the order by clause is used in real-world applications. Learning the syntax is important, but knowing where and when to use it is what makes you a professional SQL developer. Let's begin with an employee management system. Suppose the Human Resources Department wants to see all employees sorted by salary from the highest to the lowest. Using the order by clause with the DESC keyword, SQL Server displays the employees in exactly that order. This helps managers quickly identify the highest paid employees. Now let's look at a school management system. A teacher wants to display students based on their total marks. The student with the highest marks should appear first. By using the order by clause, SQL Server automatically arranges the students in the required order. Next, imagine an online shopping application. Customers usually expect products to be displayed from the lowest price to the highest price, or sometimes from the highest rating to the lowest rating. The order by clause makes this possible. Let's consider another example. In a banking application, the manager wants to view the most recent transactions first. By sorting the transaction date in descending order, SQL Server displays the latest transactions at the top of the report. Now think about an e-commerce website. A customer searches for mobile phones. Instead of showing products randomly, the website can sort them by price, popularity, customer rating, or newest arrivals. This creates a much better user experience. These are just a few examples. In reality, almost every business application uses the order by clause. Employee reports, sales reports, customer lists, inventory reports, financial statements, hospital records, Student management systems. Every one of these applications depends on properly sorted data. As a SQL developer, your job is not only to retrieve the correct data. Your responsibility is also to present that data in a clear, organized, and meaningful way. A well-organized report helps users understand the information more quickly and make better business decisions. Always remember this simple principle. Correct data is important, but correctly organized data is even more valuable. In the next slide, we'll quickly summarize everything you've learned in this lesson and prepare for the next exciting topic in our SQL Server Mastery course. Congratulations! You've successfully completed Lesson 12 of our SQL Server Mastery course. In this lesson, you learned one of the most frequently used clauses in SQL Server, the order by clause. We started by understanding why sorting data is important in real-world applications. Then we learned how the order by clause helps us organize query results in a meaningful and professional way. After that, we explored how to sort data in ascending order using the ASC keyword. We also learned that ASC is the default sorting order in SQL Server. Next, we learned how to sort data in descending order using the DESC keyword. We discovered how descending order helps us display the highest values, latest dates, and most recent records first. Then we learned how to sort data using multiple columns. We saw how SQL Server first sorts the data using the first column, and then uses the remaining columns whenever additional sorting is required. We also learned how the where clause and the order by clause work together. First, SQL Server filters the required rows. Then it sorts only those filtered records. Finally, we discussed some of the most common beginner mistakes and learned the best practices for writing clean and professional SQL queries. Always remember that retrieving the correct data is only one part of SQL. Presenting that data in a clear and meaningful order is equally important. A well-organized report helps users understand information more quickly and make better business decisions. Now it's your turn. Open SQL Server Management Studio. Practice every example from this lesson. Sort data in ascending order. Sort data in descending order. Experiment with multiple columns. Combine the where clause with the order by clause. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become in writing professional SQL queries. If you found this lesson helpful, please like this video, share it with your friends and colleagues, and subscribe to JeyB Tech Academy for more beginner-friendly SQL Server tutorials. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you'll never miss our upcoming lessons. In our next lesson, we'll learn the top clause and discover how to retrieve only the rows you need, instead of returning every record from a table. Thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll see you in Lesson 13. Closing message. The best SQL developers don't just retrieve data. They organize it in a way that helps people understand it. See you in Lesson 13.